What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Trailer Park Live right here on the 2nd Street Marvel, where we're coming at you live every single Friday night at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard or Pacific Daylight Time. Ooh, I almost got it wrong there. And I'm sorry about the delay, folks. Obviously, it looks like having some problems here with, I don't know, man. This damn technology, bro. Seriously. I was having problems with some OBS, so I went ahead and went in here and set it up through StreamYard, which is okay anyway, because we're going to be bringing in a guest here in just a few minutes. So, yeah, I hope you're all ready for our very special guest. But I'm going to get into a few things tonight. Now, in case this is your first time here, what I typically do is go over some of the comic books that I pulled for the week, and then I get in and I interact with you all in the live chats as I go over just some of the different topics that I have to talk with you all about today. And so I guess today, starting off with the comic books, I mean, there was obviously no new comic books this week, but there are some reviews that I dropped here on the channel. And please, guys, let me know if this is all freezing up for you guys and everything here. Here on my end, it's looking pretty bad. But let me know how it is on your guys' side. Let me know how it is on your side. Because on my side, I don't know. On my side, it's just looking. I don't know. Is it just me? Is it just me, or is it really being that wonky? You tell me. You tell me. So anyway, guys, yeah, there's obviously no new comics, but there have been digital releases and things like that. DC has been going out and putting out some digital releases pretty much every single day of the week. Some of them are like books that they had on, like had released at Walmart and things like that previously, and then they also have, just some other different ones they're putting out there. I guess they put a couple new ones out. I don't read a whole lot of DC. Let me tell you this: they didn't put Hawkman out, so I'm not buying it. All right. You hear me, DC? If you want me to buy some comics from you, the digital ones that you're putting out, give me some Hawkman. Give me some Hawkman. And I know somebody's gonna be replying and say, "Oh, hey, well, why don't you just go to the DC app and you can read any of the back ones." I don't want the back ones. I want the new ones. Dang it! I want the new Robert Venditti written Hawkman because it's just a great damn book. Okay, but I did get last week. I did pick up Impact Theory's Hexagon issue number 2. I dropped a review of that here on the channel. I hope you guys check that out because I've got some stuff I want to talk to you guys about that here in for just a second. Okay, did you guys go check out that review for Hexagon? Please let me know down in the comments below. It's freezing a little bit. Is it still freezing? I don't know, man. Internet, dude. Internet. Yeah, no, you don't control alt delete on a Mac, Adam. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I got everything. Yeah, I got everything closed. Could just be the internet, man. Our internet has been all choppy and everything. With everywhere because everybody's at home on their everyone's at home on their computers. Hell, who knows? Maybe it's my computer. It's lagging. All right. You know what? Give me just a second, and we'll be right back. All right, did that do it? Did that do it? Did that help? Yeah, I don't think it did because it still looks. I don't know. Maybe it's just on my end. It's just, I don't know, man. Yeah, it's the internet, man. Especially where I live, because where I live, the internet sucks. The internet sucks where I live at. Anyway, guys. So like I was saying, Impact Theory put out Hexagon issue number 2 just last week, and I'm telling you, it was a really great issue. I dropped my review on that. And did you guys go watch that review? Did you go watch it, and what did you think about it? I really do enjoy that book. If you watch the review, you can see where I said, and even in the original review I did of it as well, where I said it's a lot like The Last Starfighter. If you've ever seen that, it's kind of like that, but they've got a little bit something different to offer here. It was a really good book, and some of the things that I thought was happening in issue 1 that was playing into issue 2, I was right about as well. So it was definitely a great book. Definitely a good book, a great read. Now the thing I wanted to tell you guys about this about Impact Theory and Hexagon and all this stuff is a lot of this. I mean, I know like plenty of you will probably be like, oh, well, I mean that's you obviously, but I mean it's also thanks to people like you guys helping me grow my channel, helping me be motivated to keep putting out videos and things like that. Because recently I actually just got contacted by the people at Impact Theory from Impact Theory Comics, and they're like, "Hey, man, we seen your video," and they were all pumped about it. And they're like, "Man, hey, you've been giving us a lot of love and all this and that." And like, "Hey, do you mind if we share your videos like on Instagram and stuff like that?" And just kind of talking about a couple of other things. They're going to, obviously, since I do reviews, they're like, hey, we'll send you out some different books to review and stuff like that. Whenever we're getting ready to send some of those kinds of things out for people to review, we'll make sure that you have us on our list. I was like, sweet. And they put me in contact with the other guy who's in charge of doing a lot of that. So, a lot of that stuff it's not only due to me just sitting here doing videos, talking to a camera and all of that good stuff. It's not just that, because if I was doing that and nobody was watching, nobody would really care. You know what I mean? Nobody would really care. No one would be noticing. And even as low viewed as some of my videos are and all that stuff, and hey, you really only get a certain percentage of your viewers watching most of your videos anyway, unless you're one of those guys. You know what guys I'm talking about. Anyway, so I'm like, hey, sweet, one other thing, and like I was saying the other week, guys, with the Sasuke sisters sent me that AOK, man, with the Kill Crazy Nymphos attack and just some of those things, man. Like doing this thing, it has been a truly great experience. It's been a very humbling thing to be doing stuff like this, to come across and meet a bunch of great people. Like yourselves, people from these companies and stuff like that. It's just, I don't know, because like I've said before, I'm just a dude with a camera and a microphone and a computer, man. That's it. And I just love sharing the things that I enjoy with you guys, and a lot of the things that I don't enjoy, I don't really share here, but we're probably going to be changing some of that here soon enough. Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. Because in case you guys haven't been paying attention, haven't been around, didn't see my video I released a few weeks back, there's some of these weirdos out there that, for whatever reason, think that I'm too harsh on modern comics. And you know what? So I decided we're going to do something. You know what? Maybe I decided that I'm going to see if I can try to take the gloves off and actually be harsh. I'm going to try to turn over a new leaf and actually be harsh on some comic books, right? I'm going to do it. I'm going to go back. I've got some books I'm going to go back and review anyway, but I've also got some other books on the way that I'm going to be reviewing for you all. I've got some already that I'm going to put together some reviews on for you guys. Now, these are books that are probably going to be exclusive to my Patreon supporters and channel members. Soon, here over the weekend, I'm going to be working on getting memberships and everything set up. It's going to be on there. It's going to be for that, because a lot of these books that I'm going to be reviewing and talking about and heavily criticizing, and when I'm doing some of these other things, they are books that are a lot more expensive. I've got some that are from Indiegogo, Kickstarter campaigns, and things like that, and we're going to dig into those, and we're going to go ahead and get harsh with them. But you know what? We're going to be harsh right back with the big guys too. We're gonna do it. Yeah, we're gonna go all the way. Well, I don't know, maybe about as harsh as I can, really. I guess you guys know me, man. Like, shit, I don't know what the hell am I talking about. I don't fucking shill, man. Fucking shill. I'm getting ready to shill for another company. I'm kidding. It is, but like I said, guys, like the thing with the impact theory thing, that's a huge thing. Like I was really excited to get that email from them, just because like some of the nice things they said and stuff like that. Like it's really cool. So looking forward to doing that. And getting some of those books and reviewing them and everything like that. Because one of the things that I wasn't aware of when I did, and this interview came out a couple of weeks ago with Tom Bilyeu from Impact Theory Comics, and I wasn't aware of it until Shady Endeavor, one of my viewers here on the channel, a great viewer, great dude, said in my review, he's like, oh, like this is all great and everything. Like these books are awesome. I'm glad to like it, but he's like, I can't really support them anymore because they're stopping doing comics. They're going digital only. I'm like, what? I was like, shit, man. And like, I get where he's coming from because he's a guy, he likes his local comic book shop and stuff like that. And I do as well. I like buying my books at my local comic book shop. I happily support my local comic book shop, and I'd rather have print books anyway. But one thing they did assure me is that they're not doing away with print comic books. What they're doing is with the single issues, they're not releasing physical copies of. I believe they're going to still be doing trade paperbacks, basically, you know, the collected volumes in that case, as opposed to doing single issues. So that was a relief to hear. So then hopefully those will still be distributed and through whatever means comes about, and I can still find it at my local comic shop. If not, I'm still willing to go to them for the stuff anyway. But just a little bit of information I've found out, because like this all happened in the course of a morning. It's so funny because this all happened this morning. I woke up, Shady Endeavor left that comment on my video. I was like, what? I got on and I looked up Tom Bilyeu, Impact Theory, I looked up Hexagon, I looked up all this stuff. I looked up this interview and I read it. I was like, oh man, because one of the things they're trying to do is reach younger audiences, and he's obviously looking to try to make money. He also wants to see. Here's the thing about Tom Bilyeu and Impact Theory Comics is one of the things that he says in this interview is he's like, he's not worried about a lot of the stuff. Like he's like, one of the things that he said is like, steal this content. It's pretty much what like a hashtag he has is steal this content, is because he just wants to get it in people's hands. He just wants to get it in people's hands because he's trying to get some younger readers, people back into comic books, people back into these things that excite him. But he's also trying to get people motivated and want to do lead better lives and things like that. Like if you go check out Impact Theory, go check out their website, go see what they do. Their mission is the same with their comic books as what they're doing with their company. And so he's focused on that. And he was really looking into a lot of things. If you go read the interview, it's a really great interview with, I think, CBR of all places. And he gets in there and talks about, we looked at doing manga, we looked at doing this, we looked at doing these different types of things. So what they found was they're doing a scrolling format like manga style just through that, but they will still be doing trade paperback. So just some interesting things going on with that. But I'm kind of excited about that stuff. I can't wait to really just to get more books. I also did find out too that volume 2 of Neon Future is going to be written by Tom Bilyeu, as opposed to the first one was done with Tom Bilyeu, Steve Aoki, and Jim Kruger. Jim Kruger will no longer be on that with him as well. So that's kind of disappointing, but hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. I want to get into the live chats and say what's up with you all. That's all I really have for comic book stuff, guys. Also, don't forget, I also will be working on some other videos going back over Avengers Standoff, the Assault on Pleasant Hill here over the weekend, to get some more videos done. And like I said, we're going to get all these videos done through this mini event, and then we're going to talk about it. I'm going to do a longer format video talking about all of these issues and everything that happened in this series, and then we're going to talk about how and if it could relate to the MCU and everything that's going on with that. And then we'll probably do a live stream talking about that as well. It's going to be a very, very good time. But before I keep my guest waiting any longer, guys, I want to bring on a very special guest for you guys. Glad to finally bring this guy on the channel. I don't think has this guy been on the channel before? Have you been here on the channel before, Angus?
No, man, I haven't. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, welcome, man. Thanks for being here. How you been doing?
I've been good. I just got done leaving a friend's house, driving back home. Sorry if I sound a little hollow or clicky. I have to stream through my phone, so.
Oh, you're giving us that low budget, huh?
Yeah, for the time being, at least.
Right on, right on. So, how have things been going with you, man?
I've been good. I got up early enough. Usually lately, going to work, getting up early, I somehow snooze my alarms and I wake up with like 20 minutes to get out of the house to get to work on time. But I got up early enough, made breakfast, watched some Clone Wars, and wow, it's a pretty good episode. And I saw my viewership on it. I don't know what the watch time is on it, but I was like, holy crap! Like I was just kind of rambling, it was just a reaction.
Right.
And I was like going all over the place with the saga, not just that episode. And I don't know, it's just good, and it's cool to see people react when I'm just being myself, which I always am. But usually I script my stuff, but lately I've been just kind of ad-libbing, as you've seen a few times, and that's been good. I'm trying to get back in the groove. YouTube and stuff, been kind of out for about a month and stuff, but been following like Joe Rogan, and just kind of cleansing. I'm always about minimalism with my content, getting the best out of it, and you cut out some spam and whatnot, and you just feel better. You are what you eat, and I think you should use that ideology with your content, with your Twitter, with everything. Only share and digest what you like.
Right. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I agree there. And and that's something I kind of think about a lot too, because there's one thing, especially kind of like how would you say, like the circle of people that we all kind of hang out with and talk to and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like you get so many videos, they're all the same thing. There's some you like, there's some you don't like, some you agree with, some you don't. And everybody always talks about like, you like listen, you should always keep your mind open and listen to opposing views and things like that. Sure, of course. But is something like that always required? Because I think about a lot of this stuff. I'm like, well, I don't need to watch everybody's clickbait video and their hottest take on this newest thing. Their knee-jerk reaction video to certain stuff, because we can pretty much guess what it's already going to be. So I don't really need to watch all that crap.
Yeah, I was listening to what you're saying at the start and everything, and I just, I like what you do, and I like the enthusiasm and the energy you got consistently. You do streams every day or about every day.
Yeah, Monday through Friday, I try to do that morning stream.
Yeah, and you just got a consistency with like your tone and everything. But I gotta say, I'm missing some content. I think you should concern yourself a bit more with woke butter.
Yes, definitely. I mean, because these are very pressing issues when we have butter out there that is actually taking on racism and the patriarchy. Damn it!
Now, in actuality, that issue, I'm a registered Cherokee and stuff, and I love seeing the Chiefs tomahawk chop. I'm from a small town, Oklahoma, and the town southwest their college was the Savages. And being an Indian, it's not like the N-word. I'm half black as well. I've never felt a natural negative connotation to like redskin, savage, all that stuff. Like there's a kind of a savage nobility to it. We were warriors.
Yeah.
And then it's usually like Bob Acosta in sports and everything. It's always white people offended for me, and it gets irritating. So, in actuality, I really hate that the butter thing happened with, cause it's like, oh, of course, erase, something that makes people think of Indians. And, you might look into like, oh, what's the history of that label? And, oh, it's a tribe. And, oh, this tribe is known for this. And there's this great thing. And there's this chief with this history. And, you dig into stuff like that because of quick little memes. Like that stuff. So, or like Chief Oahu. When I was a kid, I didn't know anything about baseball or anything. So I thought Chief Oahu was a Mexican cartoon. but but yeah, it's just like I actually hate that stuff, that erasure of classic stuff. Like, I'm an Eagles fan, so that's the only reason I don't like the Redskins. But I never want that name or the symbol changed. Don't want the Blackhawks. So like that, the actual like full spectrum that type of discussion has, I appreciate, but it's just like, of all the things you gotta like scrape the bottom to talk about, it's like does anyone care?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's funny to meme on, but there's actual conversation to have in full context. But yeah, no, I like what you do, man.
Yeah, well, thanks, man. No, like you too. I mean, a lot of the content you do, like, I don't always comment on a lot of people's content and stuff like that. But I watch a lot because I'm working. Like, I could be listening to music and stuff like that, but I'm hearing like just stuff to talk about and see what everybody out there in the YouTube verse is trying to say and saying, and just finding different videos and things like that. And yeah, I mean, you got a lot of really good ones you do too. And you recently you did one better than butter. Yours is on DuckTales. DuckTales is woke, huh?
Yeah, yeah. I don't care about DuckTales, but there's a conversation to be had about like what the reaction if it gets that topic with like, oh, there's gay dads, and it's like, oh, it's woke because there's gay dads. Like, they're new characters, right? I'm Comics Gate, I'm Fandom Menace. We got this kind of I would say maybe to some extent reasonable perception side, especially with the general slant of the media. But I believe in the kind of core concepts that got me into it was like, hey, if you want diversity, don't be disingenuous. Make new characters. Don't ride coattails with like, oh, let's sneak in a character. Let's make Spider-Man black or this thing gay or whatever. Make a new character and let it be tested by the market, not slip it in with the established character. But then they do new characters and people freak out, or they say things that in this day and age should be kind of dead logic, where talk about gay dads and you're like, oh, you're pushing this on kids. It's like, kids are adopted by gay parents, right? Like, this is kind of normal now,
Right.
But you're kind of speaking rhetoric that goes back to that kind of how to say it. I know this isn't the right word, but like denoting it as being degeneracy, and it's like, well, it may be abnormal in the sense of like not a big population is that demographic, but I view it more as like recessive genes, where it's rare, not abnormal in like a degenerate way.
Right.
And so when you start speaking that stuff, you sound like 1 Million Moms, a kind of rabid,
right,
puritanical view of the world. It's like should at least be tolerant, especially with the rhetoric that got us all together.
right. Yeah, and I think that's kind of the thing. Like, what I like about that thought that you posed in the video, and I've seen you do a couple like that too. Where you're talking about that kind of stuff, is like, just because you've got a comic book or a movie or anything like that out there that has some representation in it, no matter what it is, whether it's gay representation, lesbian, or just any kind of just because that's in there doesn't mean it's woke. It doesn't mean that they're trying to force some sort of agenda down your throat or anything. I mean, it could be that you're just putting something in there reflective of what is actually out there in the real world. I mean, did these duck fathers stand up and start spouting virtues there throughout the cartoon, or were they just there being bad to a kid?
Yeah, as far as I know, it's just they're there and they're dads, and they hug their daughter, whatever, and they're kind of classic overbearing fathers, in tandem together. But yeah, like classic just too involved type parents, and
Yeah.
it's like awkward for the kids. A classic trope in storytelling of teens or kids. There's like, oh, come on, dad, stop it,
Yeah.
that's all I know. You know, it's like they're not reporting anything about the actual plot besides their existence, and it's like, you know, this reaction. It shouldn't be what the Phantom Menace is. You know, that kind of slant shouldn't be what we're talking about. It's like, so it reminds me a lot in concert with like, you know, the infamous Mike Miller Pride tweet where he's like trying to own the gays, and then, you know, when he gets a reaction, he's like, "Oh, I'm just joking." It's like, I don't know, man. Like, regardless of your humor, which I'd be fine with, it's like you got a track record of rhetoric, and this reflects on being a big name. This reflects on the movement. You know, it's like everyone's already against us because we're the opposition. You know, just business wise, you don't give them fuel, and that's kind of the main point I was making, is like the context of you know, Disney for one, where it's like the representation always seems to be when it suits them. Like I gave the example of Beauty and the Beast. They made $1 billion. They weren't worried about the box office, but they pulled a scene from Rise of Skywalker because they had to make $1 billion to, like, you know, not take an L. So
right.
Every penny matters. So, you know, representation matters until $1 is affected. You know, so it's like it's worth calling them out on that. But
yeah,
you know, with this instance, it's like the show's been going for a while. You know, you don't know what their play is. Are they going to stick to it, or are they going to, you know, falter for the dollar? Until that happens, you know, you can't call them woke or disingenuous.
Right.
And ultimately, the main point is like, hey, you know, I think this is a trap. You know, I've talked about this before behind the scenes with people I trust. Like, you know, I think, you know, the long game is conditioning. You know, they know how a lot of stuff will be reacted to by a lot of my peers and whatnot. I usually don't get into the reactionary stuff on this stuff, but they know the reaction expected. And so I think the long game is to beat us with our own rhetoric or track record, and you know, get you complacent with like, oh, we did this for agenda, but then it's just, oh, we just made this character and it's no big standing, there's no agenda push, but we know how you react, and so now you do look like the bigots we've labeled you as, and so now you just beat yourself. And it's like, hey, you gotta like be wary of, like, you know, pick your battles. yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly it, you know, kind of, and that I guess that's kind of the dangerous game that that one plays with their content when they do stuff like that, is exactly that. Because at some point you're going to be walked into that trap. Somebody's gonna be like, "Ooh, we know we can do this. Let's just go ahead and set this little thing up." Somebody's going to walk right into this one. just like, did you see? There was recently, I seen it on Twitter. Somebody was sharing it. Some video about some Snyder cut thing. There's a couple of guys sitting there on a couch. You see that?
Yeah,
talking about Harley Quinn or something like that.
Yeah, like I don't have the, you know, people say like if the show's like South Park, they make fun of everyone. I don't know that. I've never watched the show. I don't have the access, and I don't really care to. I'm just not interested.
What show was that?
It's the Harley Quinn show.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, and I watched like a more full context video of Mad Max reviewing Jody's Corner, and it's funny. Max really called up the hypocrisy of that channel with you know, like the previous channel, you just talked about SJWs, and then like he's like going after the Snyder cut me, like, this is the Phantom, you all are, you try to play both sides or something, you know. And you know, given the context, apparently, I don't know, but apparently the show is like South Park, they own everyone with jokes. So if anything, this might be validation of like, hey, we know you're there, wink wink, you know. It could be totally opposite of what that guy was saying. I hope it is. I am a Snyder cut guy. I don't push it a lot because I'm mainly a Marvel fan, but it's not about whether the cut's any good. The theatrical cut was awful. But I just want to see the full vision, you know, because I liked what Snyder was doing, you know.
I thought that video was funny because I seen a few people reacting on Twitter, like they were kind of like pissed off, like, "Whoa, that's like that's messed up," like, you know. I'm like, really? Like, I thought that shit was hilarious. Like I was rolling. I think
Yeah,
they
if
wanted
anything,
this out of you.
yeah, if anything, I think that clip shows some validation that like they're listening to the every man on YouTube who's, you know, the
Right.
Snyder Cut guy, you know, and you know, being tongue in cheek, clearly with like a meme of it, you know, an overgeneralization to, you know, rile up people. Like it's just making more people talk about Snyder Cut. If anything,
Right.
they want more attention on it. So at worst, it's if there's no Snyder Cut, it's just like, hey, we got more attention by you know, a divisive piece that, you know, has a lot of subjectivity.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, Fanjextra here actually brought up had a good question. I've left up here for a few seconds. He says Trinity, what draws you more towards a book, the writer or the artist? What is it for you?
Are you asking me or Fanjecture?
I'm asking you.
Okay, yeah. Definitely the art. I always hate when there's like an art germ cover and like, you know, you don't read comics, so you just see the covers and you're like, oh shit, I gotta read that. Then you like open it up and you're like, what is this? Looks, you know, it's like Squirrel Girl art. That's the worst, man. So it's definitely art. You know, comics are very superficial, shallow format as far as attention grabbing. You know, there's a very influential book that, for whatever reason, comic people don't know anymore. Contract with God by Will Eisner, and it's a pretty simple story. Eisner wrote from his perspective, being Jewish, as I understand, and I even referenced it in my Spider-Man Rain review. It's like, you know, I don't know if it's intended, but it's not great art. It's definitely got a style and everything, but you know, if that was like on the cover, I'd be like, no. But Frank Miller talked about it in behind the scenes for Dark Knight Returns, and so I checked it out, and it was like, wow, this should be just like 1984 should be required for kids in high school. I think that book should be required day one, reading comics, you know, to understand the potential of the art form.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right on. Yeah, I think for me, when it comes to a comic book, like I don't know, like I don't really, because since I've just got back into reading comic books a couple years ago, I'm mostly at this point, I'm mostly looking at writers because I want somebody who's a good writer writing a good story. I'm willing to give a little bit on the art. Plus, I mean, a lot of the artists now, it really kind of depends on the book because sometimes I see an artist that does really good on one book, but then you see him do a different one. It's like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't be doing that one. Just do this one. Different stuff like that. But I don't know. For me, I think lately I've been more about the writers than I have been the artists. And I guess we'll see how that changes when I get in some of these other books that I've got on the way. So how else have things been going, man? With all the things going on out there in the world with this pandemic, how have you been doing?
Nothing's really different for me. Today, I'm in Ohio, was the first day of like mandated mask wearing. I work in a warehouse, so it's like I'm not really around anyone most of the day, besides like going in the hallway for paperwork. So it's kind of annoying that we have to wear them. I haven't gone into the public for like shopping to experience. You know, I've seen people here and there wear masks, but I haven't seen it. You know, kind of the Borg state of everyone complying with the state yet. You know, that'll be kind of a shock. But mostly nothing's different. You know, I go to work, got my kids, watch movies, watch YouTube, read a comic or a book or something. I'm trying to get back into reading real books, and comics are part of that. You know, trying to get back into just steady reading and keeping my mind active, aside from digesting, you know, visuals and rhetoric on YouTube.
Right.
So I'm reading this book I got a long time ago because I'm very interested in like psychology and sexual psychology in a very like base way. I think intrinsically we pick things we don't even think about, like our color of our shirt, anything. A lot of it's like gender kind of culture based. And there's this book called Sex at Dawn that I'm slowly reading, and it's very interesting. It's very challenging, not the way it's written, but just like what it's talking about. And the first part so far is about like talking about how like Darwin was wrong with what he's added to evolution in the sense of sexuality, thinking with science, and it's very interesting stuff. And I recently just rewatched Days of Future Past. I've never read the comic yet,
Okay.
but rewatching it, knowing Dark Phoenix and Apocalypse, and just really appreciating the whole saga of the X-Men films. I really want to do. I think the channel's High Top Films. They do really great like essays about stuff, and I really feel the calling to do an essay video about how magnificent the film is, not knowing the context of the comics. Just it's kind of a very unique film with, there's a prequel series, or it is a prequel series to a established trilogy, but it's got the original old actors in conjunction. It's just very unique, like you would never get that with Star Wars or with Lord of the Rings. And so I think it's just like, it's very interesting. And I was also what do you call it? Inclined to watch X-Men because I'm playing X-Men Legends on the Xbox original. I just got on eBay and really love it, even though it's a pretty basic like slasher game. And when I was a kid, like I had it, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, so I just got rid of it. And it's like I'm trying to get back to like completing things that I like didn't have the drive to stick with and figure out. Just making up for poor decisions as a young man.
Yeah. Yeah, right on. So, I was gonna say, like I noticed there for a while, man. I was kind of wondering, like, hey, man, where you been at, bro? You been alive? And and then I guess it's just because I haven't been on Twitter lately, but I guess I do see it still out there, getting involved with some of those weirdos out there, right, bro?
Yeah, man. I mean, Hell War campaign. You got to meme people. When they act up, you got to get them in line. No, I got stuff going on in life. I'm trying to stay focused and just keep things on track, and that's why you see me more on YouTube again. And I've always had a presence on Twitter, even with this issues going on, personal stuff. But no, like, a lot of people, it's very clear, regardless if they're passionate or if it's just advantageous. I got on YouTube because like I love film and I love Star Wars. Like I'm really embarrassed about it, but my first following I had on YouTube before Stuckman or John's was Mike Zero, because he was vetted as a source all the time in Star Wars articles before Force Awakens, and so I'd follow him all the way up until Last Jedi. But besides, the Star Wars fandom and wanting all the scoops and spoilers and all that and discussion, I got on YouTube for subtext, like deep analysis of film and everything, to accentuate my own criticism, and for community, for friendship and stuff. Finding like-minded people that you wouldn't have a chance to meet in real life on the street. So you reaching out, is like kind of surprised, like, oh wow, you actually like checked on me like that. That means a lot. It wasn't just like I don't take this stuff lightly. You'll hit at people, you'll mean people, whatever that. They could go off into the distance and you won't care. But like, whether however it's meant on your end, like it meant a lot to me, man. So appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, because like I said, this what we do here, being on YouTube and everything. It's like you said. It is kind of a big world. But since being here on YouTube, you see kind of how small the world is with everything, and you kind of meet people along the way and just make good connections. And I don't know, you just meet a whole lot of different people. And I've always been pretty good about having, I guess, a pretty good bullshit radar on me, and just knowing people who are full of shit, people who are good people, and just different kinds of, just by seeing their mannerisms, how they talk, how they respond to stuff, and just kind of like I'm good at reading that. You know what I mean? And I can't even remember when I came across your channel and all that stuff. I'm like, I think this this dude's all right. And then since then we kind of interacted a lot, and just kind of been on some streams together and stuff, and done enough talking together. And yeah, I mean, I think you're a great dude, and it's been nice meeting a lot of different people. And like me, and hell, everybody here probably knows me. Like I'm not one of those dudes like I'm not like fucking like a knee-jerk reactionist. Like things don't just like get to me. Things don't get me all pissed off and heated. Just like over like all this silly shit that we see out there. Now there are some things that I do care about and some things that I'm very passionate about and stuff like that as well. I mean, there are things that upset me, but for the most part, I just let things slide and don't really care about stuff. And it's not about stuff like being confrontational, because I have no problem with the confrontation. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with hearing harsh truths from people. If people want to criticize me or anything like that, I'm totally open to that. And I honestly sometimes I wish there would be more people here throwing some more harsher criticisms and stuff out there. And I'm not saying like trolls, but like more people being like a little more harsher about me, because I'm like, dude, like I feel like I have nobody like that. But at the same time, I kind of feel like that's a good thing at the same time. And just like, well, for example, like what like I got a question for you. Like, what happened with you and Max?
Me and Max. Well, it's just this comic skate, rhetoric. Instead of being, in my view, instead of being objective like he always tries to be with Menace stuff and not holding punches, it seemed like he bit to one side when it came to comic skate. And I don't appreciate it. I don't mind people don't agree with the consensus of comic skate or any of that stuff. I'm clearly, I criticize my own movement on the Phantom Menace side.
Right.
Now, for caution or whatever perception for like the group. So I welcome that stuff. I don't want stuff to just be an echo chamber like I feel it's becoming. And I don't mind people like Max. That's why I've engaged in stuff. But it just put me off for a while. And so I've just kind of come to the terms of like, for whatever reason, I find him sensible. Even if he's wrong, I can have a discussion about Menace or film or not. But comic skate, I'll just kind of like, all right, you're brainwashed to one side, and I'm clearly on the other. We're opposed on this topic. It just seems odd, his objectivism went out the window on that. But I just kind of came to terms with it, and I'm back on board. I never quit watching him really.
Me neither. Yeah, I mean, I still watch all of his videos and everything and all that stuff. But I mean, one of the for me, it's a lot of this stuff like he's doing, like to me, I think he's completely and I'm gonna reach out to him and bring him back on the show here one of these days soon. Just talk to him just about stuff, but because I think at some point he's become disillusioned about shit. He's become really disillusioned about stuff, because I'm like, bro, like you're doing the exact same thing that the people you claim to hate do, man. Like you're doing the exact same thing. And just this whole shtick that he's trying to do is, make gamers great. Like the whole, like when he changed his channel name, like I was like, dude, like, all right, dude, like you went, yeah, you done, you went. I can't say the word on YouTube. But you went all that.
He went full Robert Downey Jr.
Yes, you went full RDJ. Because I'm like, and then then it's he's using the slogan too, to make geeks and gamers great again stuff. I'm like, well, we could easily argue that one. I mean, it'd have to be great in the first place to be great again. But just a lot of this stuff that he started doing, I'm just like, like he's making these claims that he wants to make fandom great again. But then I'm sitting there watching, and that was kind of his whole thing. He wants to make fandom great and everything, but then when it really comes down to it, I just started noticing, like, dude, like all you're doing is you're just wanting to fight with other people. You just want to be fucking weirdos. You know what I mean? That's all you want to do. It's like, is that making anything better? And and I know the excuse, like, oh no, we're calling people out, but okay, for what? I mean, just because they're being assholes. Like, people are allowed to be assholes because you don't like their opinions. People are allowed to have their opinions. and just like, because it's basically like you're just trying to start a fight with somebody, and then at some point, basically everybody just stops interacting because they're like, yeah, you know, like that's all this dude wants to do is fight. It's not even worth even talking to him. So he's kind of started losing that conversation in that sort of way. Like at this point, nobody cares. Like
Yeah,
nobody cares.
Yeah, my ultimate kind of I guess counter with not you, but with his angle or whatever is like, you know, we're here for fan or whatever. And it's like he's here for Star Wars fan, but it's like if you're about respecting fandom, don't you think perhaps there's a Geeks and Gamers or Jeremy or whoever on the channel fandom that you should respect because they like him or what he's saying, etc. You know, it's like where is that line actually? You know, it seems kind of arbitrary, and you know, what makes you the advocate for fandom, and is there a need for it? Is anyone, you know, it's kind of YouTube vigilantism without any need. It's interesting, it's fun, you know. Clearly, I don't know if do you know the backstory to me and him?
No, not really. And, and here's the thing, like I like Max. I think he's a good dude, and I don't mind him. Yeah, he wants his opinions and all that stuff. That's perfectly fine. I'm okay with that. You know, he wants to do what he wants to do. That's all good. But then, you know, at some point you got to kind of realize people don't want to have conversations with you when all you're wanting to do is fight anyway, when that's what you're claiming to not want to do.
Yeah, I can't remember. I found him in the algorithm, you know, like interesting title or thumbnail, and so I clicked, and you know, I followed him for a while, and then like, you know, he just kind of fell off the radar. I guess he took like almost a year off or something.
Yeah.
And then like I started seeing him pop up in the algorithm again, and he had an interesting take about the fandom menace, like the bigs essentially going to Disney Celebration or Star Wars Celebration, I think 2019. Yeah. That's when the Rise of Skywalker stuff came out, and he was talking about like, oh, you know, like his perspective at the time. I was just like, okay, this dude's just lost it. He's got, you know, menace derangement syndrome, whatever. And I just checked out and unsubbed and all that. I'm like, whatever, because he talked about like, oh, I don't do super chats, and I was trying to get him on a live stream. He's like, I don't stream, I don't support super chats, and it's like, okay, like I can just not monetize that stream, whatever, you know. Try and get him on because he seemed interesting, but just turn me off. You know, you could say maybe it's just like being butthurt about my specific fandom. I don't know. But then I didn't know he stayed sub to me. I didn't know he had this ethic of I sub for life. And I did a video because he never commented, and I did a video pushing a GoFundMe for Rookie Critic and Josiah Rises to like, hey, you know, let's do in the feminist like Comicsgate, let's fund creation since like we hate what's going on with media. Let's make our own. And let's start with a couple of guys. Like Rookie's got a couple trilogies he's done with fan collaboration, and Josiah's got a film on Amazon Prime. He's got experience with like hard stuff. Let's split this GoFundMe to go towards like a chest to make something for Josiah and equipment and stuff for quicker stuff with Rookie, and start like making our own stuff. And he was like saying like, oh, you're just panhandling, you're just camping, you're just trying to camp on YouTube, whatever. And it's like, wait, do you not see what I'm trying to do? You know, like I'm not just asking for super chats, like I'm trying to be productive, creative, you know,
right,
kind of in the producer role. And we had this back and forth, but we had conversation, and that's what kind of got me on. And then he just interested me with his Jeremy talking. We had that stream that you saw. And with honestly, without me, you wouldn't have the hater stream, and then you wouldn't have the sequel with Den of Nerds, kind of challenging and making the Gray Order. Of course, that fell apart and has become what it is. But you know, it's like Max and you know, his hotness, his strong opinions is kind of the epicenter of some interesting veins through the Star Wars fandom.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, I mean, he's free to do whatever he wants. He like I said, he's all right. He's an all right dude, man. But at some point, like, you know, I got to the point like where I'm sitting there watching these videos. I'm like, here's where I'm like, bro, you can't even do a whole video without bringing anybody else up. Like, I think I was watching like one of his Blu-ray videos or something like that. Like he did a couple select videos out there, and there was like one video he didn't bring up, you know, Jeremy or Geeks and Gamers or any of the kind of other fandoms or anything like that one day. I was like, one video. I was like, oh, I was like, it happened. I was like, yay.
That's how I am. I'm like, oh my god, like, has he got something not about Jeremy or the Menace? You know, the
Yeah.
Menace fandom. Like, you know what's funny? I wish Max would become confiscate and become a memer, because he's got a knack for meming, man. Like,
Yeah, I know. He does.
Jeremy Jazz Hands and Jaredamort, you know, that's some funny shit. The mecha hater, he's clever.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and that's the thing, is he actually is funny. He's a funny dude. He's got a funny personality. Like, he's actually an all right guy. Just like, I don't know. I just, you know, it's like it's almost like he has this gift and he don't want to use it.
Yeah, it's like, dude, you know how great your channel would be if you didn't like just sit here talking about you're just the Jeremy channel. You're more Jeremy than Geeks and Gamers.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I love the troll. I love the troll of change the name for a minute, but it's like, oh, you're going to stick with it. You're really going with the parody. It's funny because, you know, like, I was so bad for supporting the parody of the 501st because it's a charity. And it's like, is it really? Like, yeah, they do charitable stuff, but, you know, clearly there's a incentive because since I think Clone Wars or Revenge of the Sith, 501st have been getting, like, you know, in Lucasfilm Productions as like extras, like, you know.
Are you talking about access?
Access. There you go. Yeah, it's like, you know, it's like, sure, they do charity, but is that a shield to, you know, get access or the virtue signal? Because, like, when that whole thing happened where they're crying about the Menace parody, you know, it's like, oh, this symbol makes me think of holding a cancer kid's hand. It's like, dude, your whole thing is just cosplaying your favorite Star Wars shit. You're not special just because you do this extra stuff. Like, that's nice, but that's not what the 501st. You are a Star Wars cosplay. You got all this official Lucas stuff, and you get on movies. It's access or the chance at it or being in like this exclusive clique. Don't, you know, quit shielding yourself with charity. You know, I support parody regardless if it's against me or for me, or what I like or don't like. And you know, the Max thing's funny, but if he's going to do the parody, he's got to change some things. Like, you know, you can't use the. I think Jerry could get him on the jingle, using the jingle, like just adding the boink, you know, that's not enough. He's got to make like a jingle. I hope he adds like a fart or something if he's going to do that parody.
Yeah. Oh.
I love farts.
believe me when I say, I'm sure everybody remembers a video I did not too long ago. Made some people pissed off. And I did a parody as well. Some people weren't too happy about it. But just wait. I've got other parodies on the way.
Dude, and one you should team up with Nerds Plus Players.
Yeah, right. I've got another parody that I've been wanting to work on. I've got some of it shot. I'm like, I think I need to redo it a little bit, but I think it would make people laugh. But Fatal J is here in the chat and says, "Ask Black Angus, has he ever heard of Meth Gator?"
Thanks, Fatal J. Yeah, I've been in a writer's rut. You know, I got like the general plot for all 4 issues I want to do, but, you know, actually just like hammering out the details, like that's the nuance. You know, people think, oh, just the comics 24, 48, 64, whatever pages. Like I want to get this right, man. Like, it's, you know, so like just like Cascade's ideas, like, hey, let's not like you just pump out monthly content like the bigs. Let's focus on a quality story. Like, I want to do this. I'm not going to rush it. You know, if I don't have the creative juices at the moment, I'm not going to force it. But you know, different things like the YouTube and stuff, I'm trying to get back into the creative mindset, and that's also with the reading, just everything. I'm trying to get the most out of the day when I'm not working or, you know, with the kids.
Yeah, and you know, and I've actually thought about that myself. I've actually thought about I want to reach out to a few people and maybe kick some ideas around and everything, because just here over the past few months, I've actually kind of thought about, you know what, maybe I need to put something together, do a comic book, and I've kind of been thinking about it, and I'm just like, I need to think of something else because I want to draw it, or at least do some of the art on it. And like, I'm not a colorist, so I'd probably have to find a colorist. But I also want to come up with some of the story, because I kind of have a story idea that I want to do as well. but to flesh out a good story and a well written one, I'd need a good writer. I'm not a great writer.
You know, it's funny because, like, you know, aside from Meth Gator, which is, you know, just a more, it's like Clinton, you know, he smoked pot, but then Obama and Bush, they did coke, you know, so it's like that first thing kind of gets you used to the idea of something more extreme. So it's like Meth Gator is just like extreme kind of setup like TMNT or Daredevil. But I think of other things, you know, there's more ideas that kind of pop up, but they're not like fleshed out. And the idea of content is like not to be political with your content, with your product, or at least not make the politics one-sided. You know, if there's a political idea, it's like there's an answer on both sides. There's one I guess it would be, it's just like a kind of tongue-in-cheek joke because, you know, the gender check is spawned, and there's Snow Dub. The gender check is spawned because of me. You know, I love the beautiful trans ladies in adult films, and I'll like share a PG picture, and they'll be like, "Man, she's so hot," and then I'll be like, "Ha, she's got a dong," you know. And there's a funny comic idea I got. I don't really know how to flesh it out or where to go with it, but it's like a she lad, you know, have like a Batman and Robin setup, and I guess she'd kind of turn into Nightwing, but, you know, have like just like a hot like red pilled tranny. Think of like Blair White as a superhero, you know, and like the Batman gets knocked out or incapacitated or whatever, and she lad's got to like save the day, you know, and she's like, "Yeah, I know I'm just a man with boobs," you know, and just it'd be something to like trigger libs, but it's like, "Hey, I'm representing trans people," you know. Like that, everyone be like, "Oh no, the SJWs are infiltrating Comicsgate," and the SJWs are like, they're mocking representation. Like it would just freak everyone out.
Right.
But I don't know where to go with it. You know, it's just like a funny idea at the moment.
Yeah, no, that sounds hilarious. That sounds hilarious.
You know that picture, everyone freaked out because there was like, was it Cyberpunk 2077 or whatever? Like one of the ads in the world is like, there's like a clear phallic region on this beautiful lady. You know, so it's like, oh, they got a trans in Cyberpunk or whatever.
Oh, I don't remember that. I didn't see that. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it'd be something funny like that, you know.
That's funny, dude. That's funny. Oh man. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Man, I'm way behind on the chat here. I've been kind of reading through it as we've been talking.
I saw you got a Colonel Angus.
Yeah, I guess what's new? I'm always behind on the chat. But anyway, yeah, man, like I don't know. I mean, just getting, and I guess that's kind of one of the things too, you know. I mean, getting back to Max and talking about like the Comicsgate and all that kind of stuff. That's another thing, another area where he kind of started to really lose me too. And I think everybody really kind of started ignoring it at that point too. Was when he came out and, you know, kind of criticizing, you know, like, you know, the Comicsgate and all that stuff. And now there's just a whole bunch of confusion going on over that. But when he came out criticizing a lot of that, like I remember even like Snow Dub was telling him, like, "Hey man, like shit, like fuck, leave these dudes alone, dude. Like fuck, at least talk to him first, you know." And I'm like, yeah, I mean, of course do that, but you know, Max is going to do shit his own way. But the thing when he was doing a lot of that stuff, I'm sitting there like, dude, like, what do these guys fucking care? You don't support their shit. What the fuck do they care what you think?
Yeah, no, it's funny, you know, like well, that's the thing. Talking about objectivity, like, you know, it seemed like he was trying to actually have diverse opinions or whatnot. I'm not saying he doesn't necessarily now, but when we do like the war council and stuff, it seemed like there was like, hey, let's have a roundtable discussion of actual different thoughts, you know, not just like this general consensus with a few little wrinkles here and there. And I like that, you know, it's like I was on there with Preston Poulter and, you know, Lundgren and stuff, but then just like they kind of like picked a side on different stuff, and it's like, this is where you lost me, you know.
Right. I was saying, and seeing that's the thing is like eventually, I mean, you start playing to one audience more than just trying to do what you're originally trying to do and get everybody, you know. And that was one of the things I started noticing, like, is, you know, and of course everybody's like that. Everybody kind of has their, you know, I guess you would say more kind of loyal followers, but like I noticed the same thing in a lot of the chats. A lot of the same people who are acting just like the people they claim to not like. They get butthurt over all the stupidest little things, and then they find like a bunch of little children. I'm like, you guys like don't even realize the fucking mirror you're looking in, do you?
Yeah. Like I try not to use buzzwords. Like I don't use SJW. Not that it's not like a kind of a passive phrase even for me, but I don't like to just harp on it, because then it loses meaning, loses effectiveness, loses purpose. And
Right.
so I use it sparingly. Any of the like classic buzzwords, and I was getting called SJW for my recent Band of Menace video, and it's like, what was SJW, and then it's like, you're an SJW, the wokeness is coming your channel, I'm out, and it's like, you realize you just, I'm off. Like my channel was never here to be like, hey, let's all agree. My first big video was the philosophy of Thanos, is he benevolent? I'm kind of comparing him literally to the Old Testament God, and that video isn't meant, because most people meant it's probably Christian or conservative leaning, and the video is not to like win you. I'm having a discussion. I'm trying to have a nuanced take, not disingenuously, but it's like, this is how I see it. Let's discuss. And there's one guy long ago talking about like Calvinism and stuff, and it's like, man, I need to dig into this specific vein of Christian thoughts. It's interesting. I'm an atheist, so I got I got a very favorable view of Christianity, even though I'm an atheist now. But
You're an atheist?
Yeah.
Really? I heard atheism doesn't work unless you treat it like being a vegan, where you go and you shove it in everyone's faces and shove it down their throats. Is that true?
No, man. I'm but my mom was Jehovah's Witness originally, and then we kind of like literally went through the history of Christendom through the denominations back to Catholicism eventually. And so I got a really wide range perspective, even though at the time I was a kid. Like I can look back and I understand the full context of different things that I experienced through all those denominations. And there's a reason I'm very Catholic leaning or Orthodox leaning now, and so I'm very I would say I'm very conservative, and like I'm very, at least in the abortion stuff, I'm very pro-life minded, because the rhetoric of Catholicism on the issue is very much removed from the Bible. They don't thump the Bible to push their message. They use very sound logic.
Right.
And I try to bring that. There's this idea in Catholicism, and you see it regardless of the different bad points in like the Dark Ages. Overall, it's preserved rhetoric and art and literature that say the Puritans would have burned, like art and stuff. And there's this general idea of like the philosophy of the Greeks, like they were pagans, but there's truth in it. Maybe it's not the full truth, but this truth can be built upon and used as reference and a building block. And that's how I kind of use, how I try to write art, my scripts for videos and stuff, where it's like, 10 months later, this video I started might come back later because of the things I built off of,
Right.
That's how I try to do my channel. It's like, it's all progressive. It's all, or it's challenging. It's like, I don't want to garner an echo chamber. I want to garner like, oh shit, like I love Angus content. And one day you're like, fuck you, Angus, I hate it. I'm not trying to be Ryan Johnson, but like I'm not here to like pander to your specific take or side of things.
Right. Yeah, and I think that shows in a lot of your videos too, because there's some of them I watch and I hear what you're saying. And I'm like, hey, like shit, like you really put some real great thought provoking shit into this video that starts off where I'm thinking like, it's just fucking gonna be some video and he's flapping his gums about bullshit, but like a lot of times you come in, you really knock it out of the park with like some good commentary.
So I was reading that chat. If he says he needs a writer, I know who he meant, or maybe
yeah. He's told me to reach out to him. So yeah, I'll be probably reaching out with hooking up with RC Scott. Probably a lot of probably several other people to try to get some input. Just really more get some ideas, and then maybe get with somebody more, and then get something. Because I want to get some ideas, just kind of spitball some things. Bounce some different ideas off of different people. Because what I kind of want it to be is not quite as, I wouldn't say a superhero comic book, but maybe I don't know. I don't know. I guess it's kind of like a superhero comic book.
Well, superhero is such a great genre because there's so much dynamism to what you can do. You can do like a Wolverine, a Venom, Magneto. These type of characters are where they can go. Or which writer's hands they're in. Like Hickman's X-Men. Going back earlier, talking about diversity and representation and stuff. I know, like I listen to you boys Zach here and there, depending if I have time, and I usually like his take, but a lot of people in my ranks in Comic Skate and the adjacency and everything really hate, say, Wolverine and Cyclops being buying this trio with Jean Grey. But it's like, I don't know the full context of comics history, but like at least in the films, there's clearly like a kind of a unsaid love triangle going on, and I think that's a cool dynamic, to like build on that trope. Is like, well, what if they're bi? Like, what kind of conflicts would be had in that interpersonal relationship? Because like the X-Men is like Star Trek. It's a lot of personal interaction aside from the big plot of like the villain or the world against them. And so like as much as Stan Lee, people like to reference like him wanting to keep Spider-Man straight, white, male, etc. I guess he had a cause or something about that for Peter Parker, and that's fine. But at the same time, he's like, hey, like try different things. Not everything's going to stick. A lot of things are going to fail. That's just the nature of this business. But like, keep trying because like, why not? This is how you tell stories. And so, sure, there might be people. There definitely are some people in league with Hickman on the team or whatever at Marvel that are, standard SJWs. It's disingenuous. It's like propaganda to them or something. That's their attempt. But despite that reality of certain people with that vein, I think you can have those questions put through comics and have a new timeline for a character with these kind of like additions of where can the story go if we did this. And I'm not so stringent like a lot of my peers. It just depends, I guess.
Yeah, I hear you. And yeah, like I mean, I don't mind seeing different things explored, like with different things like that too. Like like one of the things got me back into reading comics is something that pissed a lot of people off, and that's like HydroCap. you know, HydroCap was one of those things that got a whole lot of people pissed off, and I'm like, dude, that's kind of what got me back into reading comics.
Yeah, I mean, what he's like a sleeper cell for Hydra. I think they like kind of retconned it later. I don't know that story. I just like general gist.
Yeah. There was a lot that goes into it, and I get like if there's like I get how somebody if they don't know the whole context of it, didn't read like all the stories, like because me like when I got back into reading, that's kind of what intrigued me. So I got in and I read all of those damn stories surrounding that, everything happening there with that. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I read it and I understood it and I got it. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Because now it's still having lasting repercussions to even this point right now in the comics. So just interesting stuff. I mean, but at the same time, I think, yeah, I can't remember who it was also talking about in the comic books. It'd be nice to just like have some stories that are just like just do a nice little short story with this character. Just tell a little 10-issue story arc, and that's it, and then just be done with it. You can do something different with that character as long as you're not changing who that character is. You can do something different with them, and it's okay.
Yeah, I used to follow. I think they've at least interacted a couple times streaming or whatever. There's Professor Geek and I can't remember the other guy's name, but the other guy he like really hate. I think Professor Geek as well really hates like Snyder's Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't grow up reading Superman. I never liked the character. He's overpowered. He's like a very infantile setup with if you remove his powers, then he's not Superman. But if you have him, it's so hard to write a compelling story. And so Man of Steel, it can be a divisive film or just not interesting to people. But then I read Superman for All Seasons because I read, I think, Long Halloween. So I wanted to read more by that team, Tim Sale, Jeff Loeb. And then I rewatched Man of Steel. I need some Superman, and I totally got what Snyder was doing after reading Superman for All Seasons. Like he nailed the sentiment of Superman and stuff in that film to me. I totally get it now. And so like talking about stringency stuff, it's like, yeah, I get like a character is this, but at the same time there's also the counter of like, you want this character that's been around for 20, 30, up to like 80 years to be the iconic way. It's like, well, you have those stories that are done, how much more can you do when like everyone's exhausted that trope and that storyline,
Right. Yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't mind the idea necessarily of Magneto or Xavier being persons of color. I hate that term. uh,
Yeah.
but it's like, as long as it makes sense and you're not like just color swapping them for the sake of it,
Yeah.
because like Magneto's Jewish background with the Nazis is very key and foundational to why he thinks a certain way. You could update, like I did a video actually about this, where it's like you could still keep them Jewish and update them from World War II to say the 6-Day War in Israel. Have them be like a child of a bombing or something, or have them from like more modern day kind of terrorist infected Israel, where like he survived a car bomb or something, and now he's got this perspective of persecution and taking out the opposition. So you could keep them Jewish with more modern context, or you could do that kind of, let's make them black or whatever race and put them in a new era, a new setting.
Yeah.
I don't mind that.
Yeah, and see, I don't know. For me, like, if it comes to where they're doing it in the movies and all that stuff, like, as long as it's done good and it makes sense, that's all I'm worried about. I just like, when it comes down to a movie, I just want a good movie. When it comes down to the comic books, I mean, I think there's no reason to change any of the characters or anything like that. But then there's also all these things, we see in the comic books where people, talk about everything's, these comic books, what they're doing, they try to aim it at this audience or that audience. It's supposed to be for this. It's supposed to, like, I guess what a lot of it comes down to, like, I guess representation, putting some of that stuff out there. Like, these kids need somebody to look up to. And, it's like, it's not all about that, because you don't have to look up to these characters. And not, and the other thing is, even with like the superheroes, is just because they're a superhero, does that mean that they're always right? Are they infallible? I mean, can they not do anything wrong? Like, with like Batman killing people and just different things like that. Like, to me, I think a lot of that stuff is probably best handled in those ways. So you can see that, like these supposed, like people to look up to, these role models or whatnot, which is to me is silly talk anyway. But that they aren't infallible, that they do bad things, and that they're not perfect. So then you're not setting this kind of unrealistic expectation on people, let alone kids, like, oh, like, hey, like, you have to be good, and like, and all this kind of stuff, because that's really not the real world that we live in. So like, I would like to see more of that kind of realism in some of these, these like actual like superheroes and stuff like that as well. And
Yeah,
just don't see a whole lot of it in there, except for in like anti-heroes.
yeah, like with representation, one thing I'm hard on is just maybe my certain perspective. Like Black Panther, it's always been a black guy. He's from Africa. He's got a techno advanced future techno, or what, I can't remember the term they use, Afrofuturism or whatever. That's kind of the vein of Black Panther. It's kind of the core from the start. And so it's like, okay, he's like Central African character, let's keep him black. Great. One thing I hate, because of my knowledge of like culture a bit, is Black Heimdall and Valkyrie. It's like, these are, even though it's comics, these are built from mythology of Norse people. It's like,
Right.
If you had some Hindu character, everyone would be freaking out if you put some white guy there.
Yeah.
And I just hate the two-facedness. That's the main thing I hate about this whole representation stuff, is like, well, like with Black Arrow, they're like, well, even if he meant it to stay Danish and this and that, black people can be from Denmark. And it's like, well, Leonardo DiCaprio and Charlize Theron are from Africa, so theoretically Black Panther could be a white guy. They never see the other half of their argument.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, people. I mean, even if they were like, people move into regions and stuff like that, even if they're not named there, their parents moved there, they were born there, and all that kind of stuff. Or I mean, just any of those different kinds of things. Like, a lot of it just seems silly to me. Like, and that's also why I don't like, with some of the stuff, like, I get being upset about, and some of the stuff I don't like. when ultimately it comes down to like, can you just make a good movie? Can we just start there? You know, yeah, I don't know. But at the same time, with most of these properties, you don't have to do anything with these characters like cast changes or anything like that, race changes or gender swaps or anything, because there's diversity somewhere in all of these universes too. But and again, it doesn't come down to like, you see all these characters. A lot of these characters do bad things. People do stupid things. Things happen. You know what I mean? I'd just like to see that. That's something I'd like to see is where a bad guy messes up and does something bad, almost like in Civil War, where you see Rhodey get shot out of the air on accident by Vision. Like accidents happen, but like accidents don't seem to happen like they accidentally killed somebody. they didn't accidentally kill that really, really bad guy.
Yeah, no, I like that. Well, that's ultimately, I think for most comic storytelling, it's still at its base. No matter how complex the plot gets, it really is you boil it down as simplistic tropes and storytelling, where it's like ultimately the good guy's always good, even if he gets in a bind or he gets framed. He's always good in the end. Is that still archetypical idealism to these characters? No, I never really thought about that vein, because I'm right, Myth here. He's kind of a Wolverine or Venom or Hulk character, not idealized. Like Hulk's the hero, even though he's a freaking behemoth that smashes everything and causes property damage.
Right.
So like, I got a lot of play with this character. It's more of just self-interest. I like stuff like that. That's why anti-heroes are so enigmatic and interesting and fun, because they're not like tied to some idealism necessarily. They can go bad to the reader, even though it's like, well, look at the setting they're from. Let me take it out of comics to give a better context. I don't know in here who's seen The Founder, the Michael Keaton film.
Yeah.
Knowing the history of McDonald's, Supersize Me, and everything, all the bad meat, the filler for the burgers, fake milkshake, all that stuff, you can see Ray Kroc, especially him swindling the McDonald's brothers out of it. Like, this guy's just an evil crook. But then you kind of remove yourself from like judgment, and it's like, well, what's the context of this guy's character and his history? It's like, this guy's been trying to do the American dream before the idealized time of the 50s, being a salesman and stuff, and just never getting ahead with his ingenuity, trying to be inventive. And then he comes across and sees like this, gangbusters store in McDonald's. And he's like, why aren't you all over the country? Why aren't you implementing this everywhere? Why are you afraid to build and grow? And these guys just want to be sticks in the mud. And he saw an opportunity, especially with the help, if the story's completely true from the film, lawyers tell him like, hey, like, your real cash grab is leasing the land, buy the land and lease it.
Right.
And that's how he won, essentially, McDonald's.
Right.
And it's like, is he really evil, or is he just a product of his setting? So that's kind of how I like to look at things, removing yourself from your moral judgment and think of like, what's the context, what's the upbringing of the character.
Yeah. I was saying that's it's funny you bringing that up, because that movie is really excellent on a lot of points, and showing stuff like that too, and about kind of like how he's a loser. He's kind of jumping from thing to thing until he finds something that finally sticks, and he's like, oh, okay, like great, and he actually has a good idea, and and that was a smart move, because doing the real estate thing, buy the land that you put the thing on. You got the restaurant, like, hey, you own the land, and they basically owe you for the land, and just all those kinds of things, just things that people don't think about. Sometimes people don't know what they have, and then also sometimes people are really only good at doing as much as they can do, and it takes somebody else in there who has that kind of mind to take it to that next level, and those dudes weren't ready to do that. You know what I mean? So that is a great movie too.
Yeah, another Keaton film, actually. I'm not a big Keaton guy, like I don't follow him, but he's had a string of stuff since Birdman, and what's that film? Oh, Homecoming. I love what they did with Vulture. Like, I don't know the Vulture character in comics. But just the film, like I love the aspect of like this guy got screwed over by the superhero, you know, and so like this is what set him on this path. Now there's that kind of free will arguing about some of the decisions he makes, but overall, it's like he's actually a very sympathetic character in that film. You know,
Oh yeah,
his
dude,
fate and
that scene where he's there in the warehouse breaking shit down to Peter, you know, before he gets ready to crush him in there, you know, like he's sitting there like breaking all this like real world shit down to a teenager, like shit that Peter Parker, he's not gonna understand that shit. And like he breaks it all down. It's like, damn, dude, like that's some pretty heavy shit. Like he's like everything he's saying, like he's not wrong, but the ultimate thing comes down to when it comes down to a really good bad guy and these complex bad guys is that you know what? It's what usually separates the good guy from the bad guy is usually the means they're willing to justify to get to the end. You know, like just the things that they'll justify to get there. And that's kind of what his thing was. Like, he's like, dude, like, and you know, and obviously going back to that scene when he's in the car, he's like, dude, this is my family. You mess with my business again. This affects my family and all that shit. He's like, you know, if you do that again, I'll kill you. And just shit like that. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, fuck.
yeah, I'm a dad, so like I totally buy into that philosophy.
Yeah.
I'm a kind of there's a duality of Full Metal Jacket, two kind of philosophies that conflict, but I buy into both at different times. One is better you than me, you know.
Right.
That could mean just like, hey, you can take the hit, or you know, like you know, in the pandemic stays, like, oh, there's only, you know, one steak for like between two families to fight over. It's like, well, fuck your kids, I got mine, you know. But then there's also that shit sandwich philosophy where it's like, hey, let's all take a bite and it sucks less for everybody.
Yeah.
I love that stuff. I was wondering, so I think you've talked about like your favorite MCU films and stuff. I was wondering what your favorite was.
My favorite MCU film?
Yeah.
I think it's probably definitely got to be Winter Soldier of the MCU films. I think that was my number one.
Okay. Well, why is that?
Just because it's just such a damn good movie, man. Like the directing in it, the kind of film that it was too, because that was really when Marvel really first started playing on doing like genre type films within the superhero genre. Because it's got that kind of thriller, suspense, espionage kind of like spy movie. But also, I mean, just a lot, just all the people that are like the actors in it too. Chris Evans is he's a great fucking Captain America. What's his name? Sebastian Stan is Bucky Barnes. He's great. And plus, I mean, how could we deny? We got Scarlett Johansson in there, is Natasha Romanoff, but then just so many of the other aspects that go into that movie. I mean, there's lines of dialogue in that film that are really great. You know, just all these different things that make up a lot of that. You know, and also the fact that we get revealed in that movie that really, if it wasn't for Dr. Arnim Zola, nothing would be happening in the MCU because Tony Stark basically appropriated all of his technology and all of his research. Hashtag the Stark Sham. Hashtag Hell Hydra.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know the comics to argue with you, but it's funny. I know you got a real dig against Tony Stark as a hero.
Yeah, well, in the MCU, definitely. In the comic books, I think everybody kind of knows that he's not really the best guy in the first one because he's like worse in the comic books, honestly. But yeah, but yeah, there's that kind of stuff, and there's just so many things that kind of happen there in that movie, and set up a lot of things, just a lot of really great things that happen in there. I mean, even they got a kind of cool soundtrack. It just establishes so much that I like about that movie. And plus, the Russos coming in and directing, just like so many things happen to fall into place for that movie. And I think that's really, I mean, aside from the Avengers, that's really like the next movie that kind of took them to that next level in the MCU.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't appreciate when I saw it. Like, I was just like, oh yeah, like when I was growing up, like Iron Man came out and I didn't see it in theaters, but I got the DVD and I watched it all the time. And also, I'm a big AC/DC fan, clearly the name. So that was great too, just like, and then Iron Man 2, like everyone craps on Iron Man 2, and I rewatched, I'm like, this is like perfect comic book movie, where
Yeah.
it's just like you build on the character and you're getting them to a low point and stuff, but you're also like setting up this universe, and it was just fun, and like you got the ACC soundtrack for that film, it went full bore with it. It's great. I
Yeah.
listen to that soundtrack almost every day in my car, man.
I think the worst part about that movie is really Mickey Rourke and Whiplash. That's probably the worst part about that movie. Other than that, the movie's good.
Yeah, man, I really enjoy it. It's sad people don't appreciate it. Maybe there'll be like a niche appreciation in the future. But my favorite MCU films, definitely Infinity War, man. Like that was just like awe-inspiring to me, like what they did, just the CGI for Thanos, and it just felt like like the perfectly crafted like spectacle film for superheroes and real ambition. You're feeling like real stakes and stuff, and yeah, it's kind of undercut by Endgame. Um, not just because the snaps reversed, but because like in Endgame, besides Stark, there's no real emotional impact. But what they did with Thanos, I love it. Like Thanos is so just cryptic and interesting to me, because like, you got Killmonger, people think's very I don't know, like, oh, the villain's the right guy in this movie or something, there's that vein of thought. But like to me, Thanos is cool because one, like they really got the eco-terrorism idea of him down from Thanos Quest when he's showing Silver Surfer stuff. But just like something people don't pick up on is like Thanos isn't like, he's not evil. Like he's evil in like a grand sense of like uh chaos he brings about, but like he doesn't, he truly isn't evil in my view, because like there has to be like intent of ill will. There's no ill will to him. He's got this idealism that's like, like there's a certain way you can argue his point. But like you just look at uh like he kills Loki. Loki failed him, and then Loki, multiple times in that opening scene tries to kill him through Hulk and through his knife, and Thanos snaps his neck. But then like, he kind of leaves Thor for dead, but he doesn't like purposely just like attack him directly.
Right.
Um, even when he fights Stark, he finally stabs him after this whole crazy battle ensues. It's just kind of like, oh, he's stabbing you, and then he just kind of reacts. But then he's got that, nice sentiment of like, I hope they remember you. He's like saying like, I hope people know like what you try to stand up against. Like this is,
Yeah, he's got some fucking hard lines in that movie, man.
yeah. It's just like, oh man, line's so good. But like when when all the Avengers are like coming down on him in Wakanda, he just like throws Hulk into a wall or into the rocks. He encapsulates Black Widow. He punches Cap. Like he doesn't purposely try to like injure or kill anybody besides getting stoned from Vision. There's a kind of empathy to him, or like he's not going to just take you out senselessly and without purpose. He's not here to bring ill will if you haven't brought it on yourself. I'm trying to think what other character that reminds me of. Kind of like Shigur in No Country for Old Men, which is another great nihilist film with Josh Brolin.
Yeah.
There's one other, I can't think of it at the moment, but like I guess Bane. I love Bane, Tom Hardy's Bane. There's this one funny line no one talks about where like he's in the Wall Street, and he's going about, he's like killed a couple people and everything, and he's stealing Wayne's money. And then he leaves and he takes that bike helmet from the guy. He's like, "Thank you." It's just like, see, he's got some manners. He's not just out to hurt everyone. He's got a plan. Don't get in the way of the plan, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And I gotta say, like, and that's one thing I've definitely said, like you're saying about Infinity War. Like one of the things I've definitely said like about Infinity War, and it is high up on the list on my favorite of the Marvel, the MCU movies. But like one of the things I like about that, like, because I like that movie more than Endgame. Endgame really has no legs if you're not really into the MCU. As far as watchability, let alone rewatchability, if you're not invested in this whole thing, like Endgame is kind of the payoff of all of it. Where Infinity War, you can watch it by itself and really get a lot out of it. But like I've said this before, like Infinity War is one of those movies. It's like this movie is like almost a perfect movie. Like there are really, really great, like actual, you know, like I would just say, I'll put that in quotes, like real filmmakers, you know, who make, you know, real, you know, like real films, because some people don't consider these real films, you know, and I'm not just talking about Scorsese, but who try to make like real serious type films that haven't made this good of a movie. Because it hits all the levels. I mean, it's got a good balance of comedy, drama. It's got the soundtrack on there. It's got the graphics. It's got all these things there that are really great about it. And it's just and obviously we can see that with, you know, what it did at the box office, and then obviously Endgame benefited from that movie setting it up. I mean, I don't think Endgame would have made the money that it did without having Infinity War before it.
Yeah, man. Like the thing about Endgame for me though is like one, there's the investment in the series, but like there was a lot of emotion for me personally because like I wasn't always into the MCU. Some of it I didn't care for. You know, I hate Ant-Man and Wasp. I recently watched Captain Marvel. I'm like, yeah, Spider-Man and Hulk, those are the worst MCU movies to me. Captain Marvel's probably like bottom 5, but whatever. You know, I'm not on the full hate train of Brie or Captain Marvel. It was okay.
I think it's an okay film. Like me, I have it like on my list. Like when I actually sit down, I'm gonna do this one of these days too. Is do my MCU ranking list. It's gonna piss some people off, and I'll tell you one of the reasons why is because Captain Marvel is actually ranked pretty high, and I'll give you the one reason why, and that's because it's like the MCU's most comic accurate movie.
I read the what do you call it? I did a Goose the Cat video, and to do that I read like the Kelly Sue Thompson or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
I read the series up to the point to understand Goose to make the comic or make the video. So I still don't feel I have enough experience to say yay or nay on that, but kind of just vapid. See, the problem with Captain Marvel is she's like a Superman without any endearing character to make you okay with how powerful she is. You know, that's the biggest problem for me. Aside from the intent, the feminism, whatever, the kind of faux advocacy behind the intent of the film or the push, the purpose for the actors and the creators.
Yeah. Yeah, and for me also, like honestly, like the movie in itself. I mean, you take out the Brie stuff and, you know, and all that stuff. Like the movie in itself it's actually like a decent movie. That's not saying that it's a good movie, but a lot of the stuff is actually done really well throughout the film. But it's certainly and the one bad side is because it's such one of the ones that came so late in the MCU so far, and it's got that phase 1 feel, you know. And
Oh, dude, yeah, it definitely feels
yeah,
it feels more juvenile,
yeah,
like
it's kind of
creativity.
got that origin stories feel, but the thing is we don't get any origins in the film.
Well, you don't get any like character development. That's the biggest thing. Is like,
Yeah,
especially when you see that deleted scene of her like squeezing that guy's hand to like get him back for sexist comment or whatever.
yeah,
You know, like when you compare that to Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man, there's that thread where he's like he lets the thief go and he's like, it's not my problem, and then he learns from it the hard way by Uncle Ben getting killed, kind of coincidentally, and that kind of sets his whole ethos going forward as the superhero. And with Captain Marvel, it's like she does like a kind of a Terminator, Terminator 2 when he pops in, at first getting the clothes and everything. That's kind of like Terminator. That's a bad guy move, it's like it's self-indulgent, and there's no after effect where it's like, oh wow, like that guy ended up being a Skrull, or that guy ended up being like some sort of plotted the villain, and now he's going to get her back because he got injured by her, so he's getting even or something. This is biting her in the ass for hurting someone. There's no learning for her, in that. That's probably the biggest problem with that film. Is just no progression of like, aha, like I was just doing this for myself, and now I see the full potential that I can add to the world of the universe.
yeah. Yeah, and see for me, like some of it, like for me, the character progression is kind of what like seriously, like because I went and seen that movie in the theater, I think 3 times, and I
You're
think
why it made $1 billion. You shill.
yeah, pretty much, pretty much. Believe me, I bought 10 tickets every time I went. But one of the things that really started making me mad, I think I did a video too where I was actually talking about it, and I kind of got a little pissed off when I was talking about it though. Is there towards the end of the movie where she's sitting there, where she gets taken by the Supreme, what was it called? The
It's Supreme Intelligence.
yeah, the Supreme Intelligence. She's sitting there hooked up to the thing, and like they're sitting there talking to her, and all of a sudden she breaks the thing off of her head, in her little dream, and she just stands up and she just starts fighting back and all this stuff, and like they do this whole little scene where they do the flashbacks and everything of her, kind of falling and getting back up and facing the world and stuff, and I'm like, you're putting this at the end of the movie right before she goes to kick everyone's ass. Like, no. This goes earlier in the movie.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, they have that little montage of like standing up. I'm a strong woman. I've always had to get up because of men or whatever they're trying to do with that. It's like, if that's like if the patriarchy is her fight, like I never really got that. Besides, like, what they call it, a cockpit.
Yeah. Well, and then just like some of the stuff too, because then like that whole little stuff right there kind of made me mad. Like some of the little fighting stuff there on the ship, that was kind of funny, haha, whatever, with the I'm just a girl stuff. But then all of a sudden she gets her ass kicked and falls out of a ship. She's never flown before.
Exactly.
Didn't know she could fly. She's about to hit the ground, then all of a sudden she can fly, and she's such a badass, she can just fly through ships. She knows how to fly. She just knows how to use her powers.
Dude, perfect comparison. I hate this movie, but it's a great comparison to like at least this thread working or not. Shazam. All right, Shazam, he's like never flown, and he's like falling, and he like figures out how to fly, and he's like, I'm flying, and he gets fucking hit, and because he's like taken out of the moment. It's like, oh wow, I can fly, and then he gets that little thread, like that makes the character endearing. I can see why people like Shazam, because that little wrinkle of character there. Ken was just like, I can do it, and there's no problem, and pow, get out of here, Ronan. It's like, what? Like, Ronan held the Power Stone.
Right. Yeah, and that's just kind of the thing. Like, other than that, like, I don't really have a whole lot of nitpicks wrong with that movie, other than some of the other things that I can't really reveal right now. But that's one of the biggest things is like the progression of her character. People want to say she's Mary Sue. Well, I mean that's wise, because like amongst many other reasons, but like all of a sudden she just like comes into her powers all of a sudden right there at the very end, didn't know how to use them, and I don't know. It's just all really weird, and there's like I've even got some things that I could say in defense of the movie too, that that a lot of people talk about as well. And the one main thing I could say is a lot of people talk about is Brie Larson, how she's like acts as good as a piece of wood in that movie. Expression and everything. But I've done videos talking about that too, where I mean, you think about it, she was stolen from her home and brainwashed by an alien race and had all her memories replaced. I mean, she don't have any memories like that. She learns that she's from Earth and she gets back there. How is she supposed to have any emotional connection to any of that? Of course, she looks like a fucking zombie when it comes to like But again, that's me defending that, thinking that maybe the directors were thinking about that when they wrote and directed this film.
Oh, the other thing that was just like cringe was she's got this history with her co-pilot, the black girl. I can't remember her name, because like, was it Monica's the girl, right?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So Monica, not even talking about comic context or whatever, just like this film and the characters. It's like she knew this little girl as a baby or like a little toddler, and the girl hasn't seen her in years, and she's like, oh, I kept all this stuff about you and this and that. Like, she had some real attachment to her of like a full conscious state, where it's like, I can't wait till Auntie Bree comes home. It's like you barely knew her to have this weird fandom. It's like my mom, her goddaughter, she's like obsessed with me, and I'm like, you don't even know me. This is weird.
Right.
All this stuff should be from mommy to her friend, not to daughter who barely knew her as an infant.
Yeah. Yeah.
It felt very like there's this Richard Meyer video I refer to all the time where he's like breaking down Miss Marvel, and it's really great. And he's talking about like bad storytelling and how like they kind of just accept her in the team, like, and it's all like kind of Disney girl, like, oh yay, you're so great, wonderful, and it felt like that. It felt weird.
Yeah. Definitely. Oh man, these guys in the chats are cracking me up. But yeah, man, shit. Oh, okay. What's everybody saying? No, Trinity. No. What are we talking about? Well, Spidey. Okay. Well. Okay. Dang, man, it's skipping around on me. It's skipping around. Okay. Well, Spidey was never. Spidey never was a sidekick or needed Iron Man to build any of his gear. Oh yeah, and you'll never hear me argue that I like MCU Spider-Man. I mean, I like it, but I'm not into Peter Starker.
I'm a Raimi purist. Rewatching Spider-Man 3, I regret not buying the third film for my collection. I actually had like the trilogy set when they came out 4K, and I sold it to get some cash because I'm like, I already got 2. Fuck Spider-Man 3, and I rewatched. I'm like, this is so good. Like besides the cringe emo Spider-Man, which is kind of meme funny. It's kind of grown on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they don't even realize, like, sure, you're building Iron Man's arc a bit, having like before he has his daughter, having this kind of surrogate son relationship or nephew or whatever, but like they don't realize you've just like hand him all this tech, you've kind of removed character development because he doesn't have the tech in comics or other adaptations that like everything he has he makes, so it's like it's tied to him and it has meaning. It's shown progression. Now you just give him a super suit, and now you've taken away potential storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. She's Spidey is whitewashed Miles Morales.
Dude, I would actually, for Sony, I would love, I said this like a year or two ago, I would love if they mixed the Spider-Verse with live action and like maybe made a live action Spider-Verse or brought Holland into the Spider-Verse animated series. I thought it would be really cool, kind of I guess dimensional, because 3D versus 2D or whatever. That'd be kind of a cool, like, who's done that? You've done like Roger Rabbit, but you've never done like, hey, let's mix universes with different formats of storytelling.
Yeah, I think you're treading in waters of one of my favorite movies that yeah, I'm gonna have to kind of disagree with you there because there's no beating Angela Lansbury defeating the Nazis with a wardrobe and a bunch of children in bed knobs and broomsticks. And they did that same thing, mixing the animation with the movie stuff.
No. No, I'm saying like have, Holland be, a voice actor for a Spider-Verse film where they bring MCU Spider-Man into it.
Yeah.
Or have the actor that voiced Miles be live action Miles.
Yeah. All that stuff would be cool. I mean, and it sounds from the sounds of it, Sony's pretty much open to anything. So you should probably go pitch that idea. Did you hear that new fiasco about the name that they're trying to call their Sony Spider-Man Marvel character universe of spiders? And I don't know what the hell they're calling it, man.
No, I haven't really been following that stuff. I know Denver's been telling a lot of MCU stuff, but I don't get the time.
It's a mess, man. It's a mess. They came out with something saying it's like the SMHDCBCDU. Like they went through and added the QTXIA or whatever on the end of it. You know what I mean? It used to just be a couple of letters. Then they added all those extra letters, a couple extra stripes. I'm being bad now.
You're making me think of Sticks and Stones, Chappelle.
Right. Since when did Peter have an Asian best friend or a mixed girlfriend? That's Miles. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. Iron drip. Oh man, what are we talking about down here? Oh man. Be nice to see Green Goblin done right after how many fuck ups? Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, did you see that? I don't know if it was ever released in like behind the scenes footage. I don't ever recall seeing it in my original DVD of Spider-Man, but I saw some on Twitter of, I guess, the original concept mask. It was like
Yeah,
animatronic, whatever. It looked really cool.
yeah, that was pretty wicked. And you see everybody like, hey, they kind of missed that opportunity. I'm sitting there looking at that mask. I'm like, shit, all they had to do is put some makeup on Willem Dafoe's face, man. That dude can make some faces.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy though. Like besides Platoon, I was looking at his filmography, and he's not really. Well, he did Last Temptation of Christ. Besides that, and Platoon, he wasn't like an all-star actor. So it's kind of crazy that he's like so well known, really, just because of Spider-Man.
Yeah, and and that's true too, because he really did a lot of like smaller roles and things like that. Like he was in a lot of stuff, but like he was never that major actor. But I mean, if you think about it, like everything he's done along the way, he's really built up his chops and everything with what he's done, because he's a great actor. And like I said, like I love his face, man. Like he's got a great fucking face, because he's got all the wrinkles and he can make all kinds of expressions and shit. Like yeah, it's great.
The ultimate thing I remember Defoe for is the meme where it's like, oh, I'm something of a, like they did it for Pride Month, where it's like, oh, it says like company, I'm something of a homosexual myself.
That's hilarious. Get Trinity 2 beers and have you ready to roll. Oh my god, what are we talking about? What's wrong with Green Goblin? Yeah,
I guess Bannon doesn't know. Like I'm fine with the quote unquote Power Ranger suit, especially for the time it came out. Like they're trying something new and just crazy, edgy. Yeah, I think X-Men was coming out, or was out too. No, apparently there was like an actual really in-depth animatronic mask that had, I don't know, I guess someone working the like a remote control to like emote, and it looked like the comic character.
yeah, it did.
So it's kind of surprising, like that it was that good back then, and you didn't do it.
Yeah, it was pretty wicked looking.
But I guess it's like to show inhumanity in the Green Goblin, he's a really a bad guy. Having him with not able to emote, besides like the mouthpiece and opening the eyes, that kind of adds its own context. So it's you can win either way in certain aspects.
Yeah. But well, shit. Anyway, man, I guess we've been going here for almost 2 hours now, an hour and 45 minutes. Guess probably let you go now, and I know it's pretty late where you live at. I don't know, all you gosh dang East Coasters.
Yeah, it's not bad. I've had a good day after work and stuff, hanging out with friends and hanging out with you on YouTube and stuff, and people in the chat. It's been great, natural conversation. It's really fun.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's been good. Yeah, we need to get together more often, man. Always great talking with you, man.
Yeah, I just need a little bit of planning, and I'll make it happen like today.
For sure.
Yeah, sorry, Kermit the Log. You did your reaction, so I thought ours was kind of off. So sorry, Kermit, if you're in the chat, if you watch this. I already messaged them, but just wanted to make that clear if people wonder like, what happened to Kermit's stream?
What do you mean? What happened to it?
No, me and him were supposed to do like I guess analysis of today's Clone Wars episode, and I saw he did a reaction right after, because he saw it before me, because he's up later because he's West Coast. Right. So yeah, I thought, I was like, oh, I guess we're not doing it, whatever. Yeah. So I just flaked on him on accident.
Right, it happens. Well, shit. Do you have anything coming up? Do you want to tell anybody about, or?
I just kind of roll with the punches, you know. If there's like a hot topic everyone's covering that like I got kind of I guess a unique take on, I might cover, but I just kind of do what I want. So I don't really have anything planned. I might be doing a Magic Cop review soon, probably Sunday if I do it. I want to reread it just to get all the details and stuff for y'all. So look forward to that soon. Go back. I think it's still in demand on Indiegogo. Magic Cop by the Diaz brothers. It's really fun. It reminds me, if I had to compare it to something like Shrek or Hoodwinked, in the sense of like those films took their respective genres or subgenres and kind of were made a really good concise plot, but were also tongue-in-cheek and aware of like the kind of intrinsic parody that they were doing.
Right.
I really like it because it's like a Miami Vice kind of setup in a magical world. So you got a literal like warlock from the police academy is now on the force and investigating the string of mermaids coming up dead with like their fins cut. And it's really fun. It's got a weird conglomeration of magical Halloween kind of mythical stuff. It's got like a gorgon, it's got a skeleton man, leprechauns, I think trolls or ogres, werewolves or lycans, a witch. It's really cool. It's a really cool setup. You may follow I think he goes by Gray, and Iggy, he's the magic cop. It's really fun, and it's a pretty thick book. It's not just a floppy. It's a trade paperback format.
Yeah, it was like 80 some pages, I think I've seen.
Yeah. I backed I think the $45 tier, the feature tier with the ash can. I need to read the ash can just to get some details because there's a couple characters I'm like fuzzy on about what they are, or but really cool stuff. I like the universe they made. It was apparently supposed to be a video game, like a side-to-side, arcade style video game they're making, and they kind of just turned the story into a comic, and they did well. It's got a great just awareness of itself while still playing it straight. I like what I'm seeing, and I know they got another project along with making Magic Cop 2. So get in there while you can before like they get too big to follow.
Cool, for sure. All right, guys. Well, thank you all so much for being here again. Black Angus, thank you guys. Thank you so much for being here, man. And guys, if you haven't already, checked out Black Angus. Go to his channel. Check it out. Watch some of his videos. Subscribe, like them, and stuff. And or don't subscribe if you don't like them. I'm not gonna make you subscribe. But go check out his videos. He does some very good videos. But you all have a very good evening. Have a great weekend. We'll probably be doing a comic book stream tomorrow with Dylan and Chris from Chaos and Comics. So make sure you guys all show up for that. You all have a good one, and we'll see you in the next video.
Release the Snyder Cut.